Hello everyone, and welcome to my first podcast for AlpacaMyYarn. I'm very new to crocheting and knitting over the past couple of years, but I'm not new to YouTube. So this initial video is going to show on my original YouTube channel, which is called 2tinytreasures. So hello to all of my 2tinytreasures subscribers. By your request, some of you had requested that I separate the crochet and knitting from my scrapbooking and paper crafts. And as I started to watch more knitting videos, I decided that that would be the best call to make, to separate out the two channels. So this one will show up on both for the time being, and maybe a few of the others, you know, if they intertwine. But in general, if any of you that already subscribe to my 2tinytreasures channel would like to see knitting and crocheting as I'm doing this massive learning curve right now, feel free to subscribe to this new channel called AlpacaMyYarn. The name kind of comes from something that we're actually in the process of doing. We had a massive hailstorm hit Wylie, Texas this year, and we are literally packing our house. So we decided that we would remodel the property and that we will be selling this year. Now where we're going afterwards, not completely sure yet, 100%, but at this point we know we're packing. So therefore I thought it was a very fitting name to have my new crochet and knitting channel to be called AlpacaMyYarn. So with that in mind, I wanted to have like a logo and all that kind of stuff separate. Things that I never really got to do with my original 2tinytreasures account, because that one was and is so mixed since I just love crafting in general. That one's a very mixed channel with different types of things that I like to use. But this particular one, since it's connected with Ravelry and all of that's in the crochet and fiber arts, I decided to actually have like a unique theme for it. So that's why I also chose this name. So I have to show you my initial vision for what I wanted AlpacaMyYarn's banner and logo to look like. I think alpacas, in my opinion, look a lot cuter than llamas. And so much with crochet and yarn had a lot of sheep. So I thought I wanted to be just a little bit different, and alpaca fibers have become really popular, and I thought it would be really cute to incorporate that somehow. So I drew this sketch for my daughter because she draws a lot better than me. Even though I like crafts and I do a lot of crafty things, hand drawing is not my forte at all. I don't know where she gets it from, but she didn't get it from me. So this was my vision of what I wanted the banner on my website to look like. So it has AlpacaMyYarn with a little yarn ball, and then here's my version of an alpaca that looks a lot like, she says, it looks like a pig, Mom. And then I knew I wanted the alpaca to look like he's packing his yarn by carrying it with him. So that was the idea. Thankfully, she draws a lot better than I do. And I just dropped all the papers, so 1 second. Okay, so the first one that she drew for me was this one here. It is so cute. So she drew these just on copy paper for me and then colored them in with Copic markers and with colored pencils. So I thought that one was really cute, and there are what they call silver gray alpacas. So that one I thought was a neutral enough color and practical for it. Then she also drew this one. I liked this because this one was white. She shaded it a little bit with gray. So that's the one that I use for like my profile photos. So if you see this, you'll see it on my Instagram, it's on Etsy, it's on the Facebook group, it's on pretty much all the social media that I opened. So I'll link all of those below so that if you want to follow those, you can. And then she did this for the A for the beginning of AlpacaMyYarn. So that's that. So I will put up the full banner here. And so digitally, I took the components that she made and I used PicMonkey, and I combined those along with the font that I found on PicMonkey, and that's how we got our banner for AlpacaMyYarn. So that's a shout out to my 14-year-old daughter. Her name is Sierra. She can draw anything I ask her to draw. So this one she did in a kawaii style for me. I'm actually half Japanese. I was born in Japan, and so I wanted something kind of reminiscent of kawaii characters. So she made that sweet looking alpaca for me. So that's how we got the name. Now, like I said, I am very much beginning. This is my I've just began watching knitting podcasts, say in the past couple of months. I really didn't know what they were at first, because when I think of the word podcast, I'm thinking back to when iPods first came out, and it was something that you would RSS feed to or something like that and download it to your device and listen to it, which in essence that's what a lot of podcasts still are. But there's also video podcasts, and that's what a lot of knitters and those that are in groups with Ravelry are doing now. If you don't know what Ravelry is, Ravelry.com is a website where you can find a lot of patterns. Some are free, some you purchase, and they also have groups, and you can learn basic knitting styles, basic stitches of knitting and purling with these groups. You can do yarn alongs, which is like a project, and all of you do the same project and kind of keep up pace with each other. All kinds of neat things. It's really a whole other crafting world that I hadn't really ventured into a lot. And as this channel goes on, I'll be able to explain more as to the name and what my goals are with it and things like that. On this video, I wanted to show you where I started. So initially, I started with crochet. So let me grab those beginning projects first. I just started crochet maybe 2 years ago. If you're watching this video on my 2tinytreasures channel, you may remember me posting a video of showing this finished project. This is an amigurumi owl that I made, and this was my very first ever crochet project. So this is his little feet, and then he has his beak, and he's stuffed, and everything in amigurumi is, it's actually originally from Japan. That name is a Japanese name, and one of my friends had gotten into it here locally. So I was like, oh, I'd like to try it out. So I found this pattern free on, I think it was woolly.com or something like that. So if I can find the pattern for it again, I'll post it down here. So I made it in purple for my daughter because that's her favorite color, and so I made this owl. So this was my very first beginning into crochet, and I had bought some crochet hooks and things like that, and that's how I started actual crochet. Prior to crochet, I did loom knitting. When I started loom knitting, I was having some dexterity issues, and on and off I do because of some health issues that I have. So initially I started with loom knitting, and for those of you who may have arthritis or carpal tunnel or something, loom knitting might be something that you want to do from time to time. It might hurt your wrist, so if you're having a flare-up, I wouldn't recommend doing it at that time. But it's nice because with the looms you can set them on the table, and you can use an ergonomic hook, and you can make the handle as chunky as you need to be able to take the yarn over the pegs. So that's how I started. And so with that, you can make a great variety of, I made an infinity scarf with it. This was one of my very first projects. It shrunk a little because it has been washed a few times, but it has survived. So I don't remember how old this one is. Maybe 3 or 4 years old now. I'm not sure, somewhere in there. But that was the very first scarf that I did on my loom. And then I also did this one on a loom, and this is a very basic purl and knit. And you can do the same thing with chunky yarns with knitting as well. This one I just happened to do on the loom. I still haven't added the buttons, and I still haven't woven in my ends yet, but it was a very fun scarf. This is actually a cowl. It goes on like this. So I need to get the 3 wooden buttons, and then they just drape on like that. So it's really comfortable. Now, because I was just getting into the fiber arts, I didn't know much about yarn or anything. So most of these, this one in particular, I know is an acrylic yarn. But now I know there's a whole other world of yarn out there. So it's funny, one of my friends here on my 2 Tiny Treasures channel that watches me is Cammie. Hi, Cammie. And she used this phrase years ago for us who are really into scrapbooking, and said that she has to say she's kind of become a paper snob, and that, you know, there's paper you can get at Walmart, there's paper you can get at some of the big box superstores, but then there's this whole array of manufacturers out there in the scrapbooking world that you can only get their products at the specialty scrapbook online stores or your local scrapbook store. So she says she's kind of become a paper snob. Well, I can see the same thing happening with yarn. It's, you fall in love with different people who dye the yarn a certain way, or the certain blends of yarn. So that's really interesting as well. So one of my most recent crochet projects that I finished this winter was this scarf for my husband. So this one, what was this one called again? I don't remember. I'll have to go find it. But this one has a nice subtle effect with the coloring. And so it's mainly a brown scarf, but then it's interwoven with the green. So on one side it looks like that, and then on the back side the green is a lot more dominant. So I guess it could be reversible, but I really meant for it to be worn with this side showing the most. But we'll just see what side he chooses to use when he does use it. So those are some of my projects that I have completed in the past, and you know, really how I got started. And so still the projects that I'm working on are crochet. I'm literally just learning to knit. I've only learned to cast on so far. And so my next goal is to learn the knit and the purl. And I've been looking at various videos. One is, you know, traditional American style knit and purl. But I think I want to learn continental, only because I'm one of those that I like results to be very quick, which is why I've liked the bulky yarns with crochet, since the projects go very quickly. One project that I have in progress right now is this huge Afghan. I want to say it's 92 hexagons. This is what I've been working on for the past couple months, and it's why I haven't had videos up. Now that I know that this one was a generic pattern, it was not a what do you call? This particular one is not a custom pattern made by someone, but the coloration was so beautiful when I saw it on a Facebook group. So I will post her below. Her Facebook page is called Nana's Creations, and I just love the colorway of this. Let me see if I can zoom out for you. Okay, so I want to see if I can show you more of this blanket. So this is what I have so far. Now this wasn't made just by me. The idea is this is a present for someone, and they don't usually watch YouTube, so that's why I can show it here. But this is a collaboration between me and my daughters. This is their first crochet project. So what they did was I taught them how to make the magic ring in the middle here, and then they made this part, and then I also, everything was, I don't know if that's a double crochet or half, I think it's a double crochet. I think everything was a double crochet, and they just had to work in the round. So they made, I want to say they both made 20 circles each in different colors. So, and then I made the others, and then I've done the joining. So this is our first combined Afghan that we've made together. Now we still have to finish the edging on the top and bottom, because those are half hexagon with circles. So I will post a video on how to make these because, again, like I said, this is a very traditional type of like granny square, but it's not a granny square, they're hexagons. Let me zoom back out. So these are hexagons with circles, and it's not a, say, copyrighted design. It's the reason why I like this lady's, what she has on her Facebook page, is because she took the very traditional old granny square idea, but her colorways make everything look so much more modern. Now, another one that I've started making, we're in the process of another one that is similar but different. They have much larger circles in the center, and these are a puffed stitch. So it's a magic circle in the middle, and then circles, and then I think it's a double crochet again. Yeah, double crochet all the way around. And then you make a very slight hexagon. I think this one only has one round. Let me see if I have another one. Okay, so here's one that I have joined two together. So the dominant color for this particular afghan is going to be this blue. And then this one has the circles with the green with the puffed stitch and the dark brown with the puffed stitch. And then we'll have linen and sage, and that original one I showed you, the burnt orange. Let me pull that out. The burnt orange like this. So I think so far we've made like 52 circles or 54 circles. So they're all in this, I use these big Ziploc bags. I think these are either 2 or 3 gallon Ziploc bags. Actually, they're not even made by Ziploc. They're just plastic bags. And I used them for scrapbooks because these will hold a 12 by 12 kit. So if you go to like scrapbook conventions and buy those kits for the classes, usually the class kits come in the bags that are this size here. So that's what I store my projects in until they get way too big. Like once I start joining the afghan, it's not going to fit in here, but at least it keeps all my pieces together for now, and I can see what the project is that's inside of it. So those are my current work in progress. Now the other thing is I wanted to start investigating some of my local yarn stores, or as in the knitting world they call it the LYS. So let me see, where did that bag go? So this is the first local yarn shop that I got to visit in my area. It's called Yarn and Stitches. It's in Dallas, and she has a nice Facebook page, and the store is just lined with all types of yarn. So I just found some, it's called Folio, and it's just so pretty. So let me pull that out real quick. The first color I found was this purple, which I thought was really, really pretty. So I got that purple, and then I found this dark gray, and they didn't have any more of the purple. So I was like, well, what else can I use to blend it? So I got this teal to go on both ends. So I think I'm going to make a color blocked shawl with these 4 colors right here. So it just looks really, really pretty together, and it's so soft. These particular ones are 65% superfine alpaca, and they're blended with 35% rayon. So I thought it was really nice and soft, squishes, really cute, and I really love the colors. So I even have some beads that I had already purchased that I think would look really pretty if I end up doing a lace type of thing on it. Since I'm new to knitting, I'm still acquiring some of, the essentials. And they had these, what do you call them? Clover point protectors, and I don't have any point protectors yet. So I got the different sizes. They have green, and then I think orange is for the jumbo size, and then there's also purple. So I didn't have any point protectors. I figured I should at least start out with a few. They have some really cute ones on Etsy, but I just wasn't really prepared to pay that much for them yet. But may splurge and get some of those cute animal ones here pretty soon. Anyway, so let me make sure that I covered everything I was going to cover in this video. So that's it for today. Again, I want to say hello to all of my 2 Tiny Treasures subscribers. If you'd like to continue following me with my knitting and crocheting adventures, the link for the new channel for AlpacaMyYarn is posted right below, so feel free to go there and subscribe to the channel so that you can keep up with that one as well. And for all of those who are just finding AlpacaMyYarn, hello, and I look forward to learning from you. So please, as you see things or as I'm stitching along, if I'm doing something wrong, by all means, I'm here to learn. So please make sure to comment below any advice that you have for me or things like that. I guess one question I would like to ask any of those of you who do yarn crafts already, what have been the methods you've preferred and why between American knitting, continental knitting? I've even seen things like Russian knitting, something where you put the needle under your armpit and knit as well. I forget what that one is called. But which methods have you tried out and what have you preferred? Another reason why I'm thinking about starting with continental knitting is since I've already started with crochet and I'm used to holding the yarn in my left hand, I think maybe I already kind of know how to hold tension well with the yarn that way. As once as I get the needles in my hand, I don't know. So just let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear your opinions and what's worked for you, what channels you recommend I look into. I am following Very Pink Knits, something like that. She has a whole bunch of tutorial type of videos, as well as, I think it's called Blooming Knitter or Bloomer Knits, something like that. So those are some of the few ones that I have watched several videos on, and if you have any others that you recommend as well, I look forward to it. So thank you for watching my first podcast, and I'll see y'all again soon. Thanks.